Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of IPA Sessions. I'm super excited to bring to you guys today an incredible illustrator, Marcos Santiago. Do yourself a favor, check out this guy's work. If you're on Instagram, look up Marcos_illustrates. That's at Marcos Illustrates. I'm really excited to have this conversation today. Marcos was an incredible illustrator, and he was kind enough to come on this show. And a special thank you to Jerk for hooking us up. Really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. You're in for a treat, and welcome to IPA Sessions. Welcome to IPA Sessions, a podcast for independent artists. As always, I'm your host, Kay Jacob, and this is a place where I like to try and provide inspirations for practical applications and entertainment. Today, I'm excited to have another illustrator on the show. This guy has done a lot of work lately. He is a freelance comic book illustrator. He's designed stickers, posters, t-shirts, album covers. In fact, I was introduced to him through a good friend of the show, Jerk. This guy has worked with Jerk and illustrated a lot of his album artwork covers. So today you're in for a special treat. Please welcome to the show, Marcos Santiago. Say hi,
Thanks for having me.
Marco. No problem, man. Thanks for joining in. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do, man?
Well, damn, I don't know how to elaborate that, but I guess I've been an artist for quite a while now, but I've taken it seriously for like about the past 5-6 years or so. And I'm originally from Los Angeles, California, now
Oh,
living
nice.
in Nevada or Nevada, whichever one. People like to argue how to pronounce it.
I'm
But,
from the South. I say Nevada.
but yeah, that's so just a little bit about myself. I guess once the question starts rolling, everything's gonna come together.
Oh, of course. I brought you in because you do graphic design, you illustrate. Tell me a little bit about your work and what exactly you're trying to do right now as an illustrator.
For the most part, I'm trying to enhance my skills now. I've been taking a break from a lot of commission work. I have had like quite a bit of traffic, but I kind of toned it down because I want to take some time to learn new skills. Because I can only get so far with my current skills. I want to be better at graphic designing, drawing better, editing, coloring, everything altogether.
Kind of establishing who you are, like what's your style, what's your brand, I guess.
Yeah, because I originally like I never went to school for this or anything. I just one day I had quit. I just quit partying and doing all that stuff, and I was just like what should I do with my spare time? You know, like I got to do something more productive.
Yeah,
And then
right.
and then I remember I was like, well, when I was a kid, like up until like 13, 14, I used to draw a lot. And then I figured I might as well jump back on that just to have something extra to do throughout my day. And that ended up taking off like way harder than I expected. So,
So when you're working with when you're collaborating, I guess, with other artists out there, like when you worked with Jerk trying to do an album cover, um, how do you go about that process? What's your play by play?
definitely get the most information I can from what the customer wants. Um, because I feel some people think that they could just tell me, "Hey, I want an album," and I'm like, "Okay, well, what do you want?" Some people are pretty vague with the
They're
details. They can say, "Oh,
not quite sure.
yeah," they'll be like, "Just draw me" or something, and it's just like, well, in what style? You know, what colors you want me to use? Like, you want me to use like a little bit of realism or just comic book style? Like, so like, I'll definitely try to pick their brain a lot and to leave little to the imagination because if I have to like imagine most of the work, then I kind of like get scrambled in my own head where I'm like, oh, I wonder if they're gonna like this or they're gonna like that because I didn't get enough details from them to know exactly what they wanted. But yeah, for the most part, it's just getting all that information.
Nice. And you had told me that you actually have done a lot of freelance comic book illustrations. What's that like for you, and how did you get into illustrating comics?
Well, at first, I needed more reference material So I would go to like bookstores and comic book shops, just getting mostly like the art books or getting
Yeah.
some manga, some comic books, whatever, and then just kind of like going through them. Like I would read them, and then some of them I wouldn't like what the story, so I would just look through the art. I'm like, wow, this art's amazing, you know. And so like I really started getting into that style of just like pen and ink, you know, just flat colors and all that. And I ended up putting my services on like freelance websites, and I would get a few commissions here and there to like make some panels or at least color or ink them. Like one of my favorite processes for me is ink, like ink work. I really liked like the guys from the '90s and the '70s did a lot of the ink stuff,
Yeah.
especially stuff like from magazines from like the Savage Sword of Conan or like Eerie.
Yeah.
I really love that black and white stuff. So
I think the original Judge Dredd comics were similar like that too. I think they
yeah,
were in black
yeah,
and white, right?
yeah, because they're very gritty and
Yeah.
content.
And you don't see a lot of that nowadays. I want to say I talked to a comic author recently, and we were discussing Kirkman, how with the Walking Dead comic series, that's all black and white. It's all pen and ink.
Yeah,
It's a rare art form to see, unless you're looking into mangas and you're into those style of comics. You rarely see it in American comics. That's pretty cool, man.
yeah. Like I never understood that how like American comics they need to have all this like colorful flair to it, and then like manga is absolutely acceptable black and white with halftones, and it's just like
Right.
and they still make a lot more money off of that, you know. So
Have you thought about getting into mangas? You can find some cool illustrators or manga writers to work with.
well, I really like the manga style. I definitely want to like study it more, but still put my own style to it. I don't want to just do like the narrow faces, the big eyes, like
Right.
you know, just but I definitely like the things they do to like shortcut panels using halftones and whatnot. Because one of the things that blew my mind, like not too long ago, was that I was looking at different halftone variations that artists use, and something that's more common in Japanese manga is that they have entire like background halftone panels, like classrooms, explosions, and all the like cities that they just paste onto the character that's hand drawn, and they'll cut off that piece. So I used to think they used to hand draw every single like table, chair,
Yeah.
building, and turns out they just like paste it, cut it off, and let's go. You know?
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah,
It's good little shortcuts to have.
yeah,
Um, and so you've also you've worked with stickers and posters and T-shirts. How did that all come about for you as well? And is there anywhere that we can find some of this artwork that you've done?
yeah. It's like yeah. I made some. Oh, like this one, like over here on my iPad. So I made that little sticker. Yeah, I just got a few stickers somewhere around here. I had just I had just gotten into like digital art like the first year, and then I figured what else could I do with it, because like there's that advantage where I realized, well, I could print this stuff, but what should I be printing it on? Like, and then I realized like I started going to like just some crafty type of events, and I used to see people sell their little stickers and you know some pendants or stuff like that. And I used to look at it, and sometimes I look at the art, I'll just be looking at it like, huh, like I could make this, you know. And then so from there on, I started making some few sticker designs, poster designs, and then I kind of got interested in the printmaking aspect of like how something looks even better when it's printed, like putting into consideration the canvas that's going on, the material, like whether it be a T-shirt or a certain paper stock or the design itself. If I put some transparent spots on it, how it would look once it's printed, and see the texture and things like that. And yeah, I'm still on that kick right now. I'm still just like experimenting with printmaking, because I actually worked as a screen printer for like a year, like when I first moved here, and I really dove deep into like the image quality, how it affects the print quality, and then understanding the inks you're using as well, along with the canvas, how everything like how on the computer it could always look the same, but once you print it, it could look either amazing, far more amazing, like the same as the computer, or far less quality than you would have it on your computer.
So
But
what's up? Well, you had mentioned too with doing commissions and working. So, like you mentioned the comic books that you've worked on. I'm guessing a lot of that's independent comic artwork. Is there any way to find some of these cool comic strips and comic books?
honestly, that I would not know, because it would just be just kind of like a simple hire, just submit the artwork, and then from there on, I honestly wouldn't hear anything about them or where they're at.
Ah, that's a bummer.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah, definitely. But I'm honestly more concerned with making my own comics, because
yeah,
I really got into like just putting some personal stories and illustrating them,
yeah.
and
Tell
that's
us about this.
yeah, that's why I wanted to take some time off from like doing commission work, because I mean I still have a full time job, so like, I don't want to like get out of work and then be like, okay, now I got to do somebody's like dog portrait, and then so
Yeah.
on and so on through the week. And then sometimes I get in that little depressive funk where I'm like, man, like I want to draw something I want to draw, like I want to paint something that I like. But there's definitely like, I mean, the more I got into comics, I started seeing like how the creators use their personal life experiences to make a really amazing story. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes some of them are not so great, but it's still like that's the main factor. People use a lot of their personal stories, people around them, and then just make interesting stories.
Well, it
And
all sounds like a part of forming your identity too, as the stylist, as the illustrator.
yeah, and also because at first I was definitely more of a fan art type of guy. Like
Yeah.
I didn't really know what else to draw, like just kind of mimic these
Yeah. It
things.
starts simple, right?
Yeah, and then I started drawing my own characters. And the thing is, like, I would draw my characters, but then there's just nothing else to them. Where like the general public will look at it and be like, "That's cool, but what about it?"
Yeah, what is this? What's it
Yeah,
from?
it's like if you see a picture of Goku, you'll be like, you'll think about his battle with Frieza, the Dragon Ball saga,
Right.
everything, and it's just a picture of Goku standing, no background, or anything, and you'll just get all that information just from looking at just the character. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to bring like more life to my characters.
That's awesome. I like that.
Yeah, like that's mainly a focus now. Where like, yeah, like I'll draw a character with the intention of putting them in the story later on as well. Because sometimes I was depressing. It's just like, oh yeah, I'll just draw a character, and then I'll draw another character, and then after that, it's just like, well, what about it? So I'm definitely like trying to build more onto that.
Okay. Now, so you're establishing your style, you're establishing your brand, your identity as an artist and an illustrator. And as I mentioned, you've worked with artists and musicians for album covers. You worked with Jerk. Have you done any other types of work with other musicians? Any other unique, like, have you made T-shirts for certain companies or certain bands? Anything like that?
Yeah, what's interesting too that I've done. I mean, in LA there was a local like heavy metal punk rock scene
Oh
where I
yeah,
was I was definitely being asked to do a few jobs, like just a little T-shirt design or something. And I like seeing the comparison of the early things I did compared to the things I'm doing now, and it's just
yeah,
night and day contrast, right? But
yeah. Because you're seeing that growth.
yeah, and like at first, it was all right getting support from friends here and there, just saying, "Oh, well, since you do that stuff, can you do me a T-shirt?" And I'll just be like, "Oh, sure," or "Can you draw me like a sticker or whatever?" And I'll be like, "Sure." But now it's like pushing myself in social media more out there, and I've gotten commissions from like bands in like Texas, Arizona, like,
That's awesome.
yeah, in other states, people that completely don't even know like me personally at all, and then it's actually very rewarding when they say something like, "Oh, like I've been seeing your posts for a while, and I've been wanting a job to hire you for something, and here it is finally, right?" So, and like recently, one of the biggest commissions I like, well, to me that was very fulfilling, was for this band called Eternal Champion that's in Texas, and like what got me is because I've been a fan of their music for some
Nice.
time, And then out of nowhere, this guy goes like, "Hey, like I want a commission for my band," and I didn't I didn't know it was for like his band yet because I just thought it was just some random guy. And he's like, "Oh, my band Eternal Champion." I was like, "What?" you know,
That's awesome. Yeah,
and
small world.
yeah, and so I ended up doing like a back print, full T-shirt design, front pocket print, full back print, and it did pretty well. They liked it. All the fans liked it. He said it was a good sending T-shirt and whatnot.
Yeah, that's
So I've
awesome. Hell
definitely
yeah.
been doing a lot more like outside of my little bubble.
Well, let's jump inside your bubble here. What's your process like? Do you start with pen and pad? Do you have a digital editing software that you work with? Take me through the steps here of what your process is.
Yeah, so I guess one thing that'll be kind of interesting for people to find out is that I don't really draw digitally at all. like
Okay.
like from scratch, like I absolutely can't. I'm still kind of working on it. Sometimes I'll get in the groove and I'll make something happen, but for the most part, I do everything on paper with a pencil.
Okay.
Just a regular old pencil.
Keep it simple. I like it. And I'm
Yeah.
guessing with the work when it's done, to get it into digital format for print, especially for anyone that's listening that wants to do what you do, and they work the same way you do. They work with what they have, pen and paper. Um, how do you put it into that digital format?
Yeah, so I'll do two things after I'm done with the pencil sketch. Um, I'll either ink it traditionally as well. If not, I'll ink it digitally. That I could do on the computer, and I especially prefer it because from there you could just kind of continue editing the ink work.
Yeah.
Because traditional, if you mess up or something doesn't look right and you kind of wish you could delete it, you kind of can't. But I definitely have like other tools like Photoshop to help me like in case I do ink uh, something traditionally on Photoshop, I could edit it, separate the ink work, and edit it further. But that's just kind of more of a more time consuming. So most of the time now, especially now, I'll just do the pencil work traditionally, scan it, and then do all the razzle dazzle on the computer. Just scan it, just do all the editing.
What software do you use, or I guess what editing software do you use that you find helpful that others could find useful as well?
To do all that, definitely like Photoshop. That's like the number one. It's
Oh,
like
just basic Photoshop.
yeah, it's just understanding all the tools, all the little yeah, just everything in the program. Just doing a lot of research to how to color this or how to get some gradients over here, and
Right.
just all that.
Yeah, we always say YouTube's your friend.
Well, definitely
So you've been doing this. You said for the last, and I apologize. Did you say 8 years you've been doing this?
like 5 or 6.
Okay, so for like the last 5, 6 years you've been doing this. Um, do you feel like at this point where you are, you've had the opportunity to work with bands, you've had commissions, you've put a lot of resource and time. Obviously, you have to fund yourself a lot when you start out. You've got to buy the materials and what you need. You have to put money into getting a scanner, your printer. You got to look into software. Some software is free, some software is expensive. But all the money that you self funded, do you feel like there is starting to be a potential gain, or there is a financial gain for you in this now? Or is this still kind of a part of what you're working towards, is having that more career like stability out of this?
I definitely feel like there's been a return for the most part. Uh, but the first like what is it like 2 years and a half that I was just practicing and trying to get my other resources together, it was definitely just a money pit, just
Right?
yeah, like
As most artists know, it's a money pit. You put it, it's all you. You fund everything.
yeah, I was definitely just buying like at the beginning, I was just buying sketchbooks, just pencils, and like I would just go like on online, like see like pen or pencil reviews, like just people reviewing like, oh hey, I got this new inking pencil from blah 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 Japan or whatever, and then I'll be like, well, I'm gonna try that now, and then I'll buy it, and or I'll be like, oh, this is great, or like, nah, this is junk, and then just on to the next, and just to like get my foot.
Trial and error.
Yeah, and then just getting like you said, the scanners, the computers, all that stuff. It definitely came in layers though. I wasn't like rushed about it. Like
Okay.
I definitely was just drawing on paper, and then I started inking a bit, and then I inked a lot, and then I got a computer. Then that's when I started like that kind of just made me step down a bit just to like stop drawing and try to understand like how to use the computer itself to do what I wanted it to do. Because the first time I used it, I couldn't do anything, man, on that thing. I was just like, oh, like why is it so shaky? Why is it so slippery? Like, oh, like what's going on? Like how do I delete this? I was trying so hard to like keep my traditional mind from like going insane. But yeah, like once I definitely established, and also like I definitely used like the social media influence to make me like go even further because
Market yourself. Yeah, smart.
yeah, and I was for the most part recording all my progress. I still get some people now going like, wow, like I remember following you like when you were just like drawing like a little Dragon Ball figure, and then now you're just like doing all this stuff.
Yeah. You're creating your own artwork. You're not just imitating others. You're doing your own. I like that.
Yeah,
It's part of
and
that
then,
growth
yeah,
experience.
and then on my social media is just looking at art stuff all the time, so that the algorithm can just throw more art stuff at me. And then so like I'll get on social media and I'll be like, oh my god, like that art is amazing. Like I need to get to that level. That's something that always keeps me on my toes. Where like I can't just get satisfied with what I got right now, and I'm always just looking forward. Be like, oh, I wonder how that artist gets that effect, or how they manage to get that job. Just constantly like looking forward.
I like that, man. So speaking of social media, as you mentioned, and you do commissions here and there. Do you have a like an online shop presence? Like, is there a Redbubble? Is there a website, or is it more like hit me up on my Instagram or something for commissions? How do you promote yourself?
I'm definitely trying to like refine that a bit more. I definitely want to like aim to like have my own website, but I didn't want to do it immediately because I mean, who am I? I'm just not anybody that has any work worth showing yet. So I definitely am aiming towards that right now. But for now, my personal commissions, I definitely take it more through Instagram.
Okay,
But I have my other account on Fiverr where I get other freelance work, and then I have a website on Big Cartel just to have
nice.
some random merch that I put here and there. I also make some like bootleg stuff, like just it's kind of trendy right now too, like the whole like bootleg music shirts or movie shirts and stuff. And I
That's
figured,
cool.
well, like I'd like to do like I wasn't really just kind of like, oh, I want to just make a whole like branding off of that. It's more like I just like, oh, like I like this artist, but I hate how they never made a design for this art that I really like. So I'm gonna make it, and if somebody happens to want it to, then that's great. So that's kind of how it is right now. But I'm definitely like aiming more towards um, making my own designs, my own branding. I definitely want to make a different label for it, not just my name. At first, I figured, I mean, it's just my name. I didn't want anybody on like to recognize me as my Instagram handle or something. So,
Right.
um, but yeah, definitely, I want to make more shirts and posters based off my original artwork and the following as well.
Sweet. Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time today to kind of take us through everything and tell us what it's like for you as an illustrator. Before we move into the questions here, is there anything that you would like to add to what you do? Is there anything new coming out? Anything that you want to put out there for people to check out and support you?
I mean, for now, it's just the social media following, just and anything to anybody listening to this, they're interested, just to follow me on Marcos Illustrates, and
That's right.
hopefully, and my artwork is just diverse. I'll drop like a random like comic book style art, and then I'll
Nice.
drop like a graphic design tee, and then it's just kind of like left and right. There's no really just like a linear option with me. So
You are a true independent artist. I love it, man. And hey, for all those listening out there, links are in the show notes. Check out Marcos's work. Hit him up for anything. Follow him. Just support him. Uh, Marcos, let's dive into the ups and downs of being this illustrator, being an independent artist, making it on your own.
yes,
And
100%.
my first question for you is going to be, what's the biggest challenge that you've had to face, as an illustrator, and it may be something you still deal with.
Self-criticism, like all other artists, I guess.
That's
Just
tough. Yeah.
self-hatred for your own artwork. Just
The
I
imperfection of a perfect artist.
yeah, and I guess sometimes even lack of confidence. Sometimes I would think that my art isn't great enough to like be worthy to be put on a T-shirt or something, or for somebody's merchandise, some type of other branding.
Right.
So there's a lot of self doubt here and there. I'm gonna be honest, but that's what also keeps me on the edge to be like, all right, I gotta keep going, and I gotta keep going, and I gotta keep going. So that's definitely like the big one, you know. And then
Yeah.
also just like you said, it could be like a money pit at first. So there's gonna be a gap where you just feel like, is this worth doing? Like,
Yeah.
should I be doing this, or should I just get another job or something? You know?
It's like a gamble, right? It's like you have to
Yeah,
gamble on, like, is this going to be worth it? And then you just gamble on yourself.
yeah,
While dealing with that self-doubt, it makes the gambling on yourself harder, but you push through because you got to believe in it. And
yeah.
I can respect that. That's a huge challenge to have to overcome and deal with. You've been doing this for about 5 or 6 years. You said when you were younger, you were really into drawing, dropped out for a while, got back into it. You seem to be navigating really well. You've had commissions, you've worked for, people, you've had that opportunity to work with Eternal Champion, a band that you actually admire. You've had opportunities to work with other musicians like Jerk. You've had opportunities to create shirts, posters. You've done the freelance work for comic strips. So you're starting to really get a feel for the navigation of being an illustrator. But what is something unexpected that you've come across that just caught you off guard and you had to learn right there in the moment?
One thing that caught me off guard is it's just getting that mental edge where you are your own boss. And at some point, I realized like, wait, if I don't communicate with this person properly, I might lose the job, or I might not get it at all, or um, if I'm not great with my time management, I might take too long to deliver a commission, and then it puts a bad rep on my name. And it's just understanding more of, like, I guess, like the business side of it rather than
Yeah.
the creative side of it. The creative side of it, I have no issue. I could just paint, draw all day. I stay up late and whatnot. But
It's that
that part,
tedious paperwork.
yeah, that part definitely got me a little like, whoa, like, because I did not expect that's what I was gonna be doing. That's what I was gonna be doing, because when I first started, I just did it just because I wanted something to do in my spare time, something more productive. And then suddenly it's just like, all right, yeah, I'll pay you. How much is it? And like, how long are you gonna take? And I'm like, like, oh my god. Like, and then I start worrying about other things, like, oh, what if the printing doesn't come out great, or like, or the dimensions and the quality and whatnot. It's like, what if they come back and then they say, hey, like I didn't like this, or can you fix it? And it's all this like back and forth stuff that definitely caught me off guard.
Yeah, it could be a struggle. I actually can relate to that because I didn't even think about it. I like what you said, the unexpectedness of realizing, like, I am my own boss. I have to plan this stuff out. I have to schedule it. I have to mark it down and keep up with it and know that, like, that time management, how, like, where do I fit this into my schedule? Because like yourself, I have to work my 9 to 5. I got to pay my bills. I love what I do, but this doesn't pay my bills. This is just something I really enjoy and I want to keep it growing. And I am my own boss. It's a weird position to step into when you're actually taking that control. So I could definitely see how that's unexpected because I myself just realized, like, wow, I never thought of that. You're right. We are our own boss. Like, such a unique position to put yourself in.
Definitely.
Um, uh, you know, there are facts of life when it comes to what we do. And there's the hard realities of, like, this is what it is. There's nothing that can be done about it. You can't change it. You just have to accept it and find a way to move forward, move around it, work through it, just deal with it. Whatever it is, it's there. It's not changing. What's a hard reality for you as an illustrator?
I guess, like you said, that balance of you having your other responsibilities, you having to pay your bills, having to work your full time job, and then always being like right in the middle, where
Right.
you have your responsibilities, and then the other side where you have like a gap where you could fully express yourself and also get paid for it. And then sometimes I get in that mental state where I just want to like dive deep into my creativity and see and gamble it and see how far I could go on my own and just pushing it. And other parts I'm like, oh, like just I should just keep on balancing this out as much as I can.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can see how life is a hard reality. I hear that answer a lot when I ask that question is like, what's a hard reality? And people are like, life. Life is a hard reality. Like
yeah.
actual reality is like you have to juggle this stuff. Like if that's what you want to do. So yeah, I can totally relate to that as well, man. Um, moving into a positive direction for you though, what has been the most valuable takeaway that you've had from this experience? Something that's helped you grow and improve as an artist.
I would say just that discipline you eventually develop to to just make time for things you enjoy.
I like
Mm.
that.
That definitely goes a long way because I mean you'll hear it like everywhere. Just people say they got dreams about something, they want to do X, Y, and Z, but they're always so tired. Everybody's always tired
Mhm.
and they have no time. And then when you find something that you really enjoy, you definitely like you'll do anything just to get that bit of time just to do it. So that sense, and before, you would hear like I would hear like motivational speakers go like, you want something, you want to get something done, you got to go out and do it. I'm like, well, that's easy to say, I guess, but it doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
easier said than done, right?
Yeah, and so you find your little niche where it disciplines you, it builds you to be like, oh, if I could make room for this, I could make room for other things in life that I want. So it's not just my creative side of personal life, anything else I want to go do. It's definitely like far easier now.
No, I think that's a great takeaway, learning to make time for what you love. And as you stated, if you really like it, you'll do it. Like it'll happen because you love doing it. You can't wait to do it, as you said. So I think that's a great takeaway to have. And it's obviously something that's helped you improve because you've put in the time. And here you are getting to a point where, like you stated earlier, being your own boss. Yeah, you took commissions, you've done work, but now you're like, I don't want to do someone else's comic book. I want to make my own. And I'm going to start doing that. And you're doing it. I don't want to make stickers that are just random. I want them to have a meaning behind them so you can look at that and be like, oh, that's Marcos's work. Like I know what that means. I think that's awesome, man. That's a great takeaway.
Yeah,
We had talked about the unexpected that can catch you off guard, like being your own boss.
yeah.
But what is something that you did expect? Something that you wanted from being an illustrator.
People just looking at my art and appreciating like the skill that is like just looking at it and knows that somebody has skill, whoever made that.
Right?
because
It's
because
not awful.
yeah, I mean, especially because the way my approach was, it's not like I just said, all right, I'm gonna draw every day and I'll eventually get good. you know, and like I really just at that time, like I was just obviously just working my 9 to 5 and then just waiting for the weekend to party and stuff. And then suddenly I'm like, okay, I'm not doing any substances anymore. I'm just trying to like find peace now. And so my routine used to be, all right, go to work, take like an hour nap or something, get whatever I need to get done real quick, and then just glue myself to my desk for like at least 1 hour and try to like learn something. And how could I learn more, and like who should I learn from as well?
Yeah.
Only because there's a book that says how to draw, that doesn't mean that that's my book that I learned from.
It's
Because
like the
most of the
steps, yeah, like
yeah,
the what
so
do you call the bare bones, learning the bare bones, so
yeah,
you can put the
yeah,
meat and the texture on there.
like I got some books around here just laying around, and
Nice.
and yeah, so I was just taking time to like these are the things nobody really saw, that how I was just drawing something. I would draw a circle. Oh, so this is how they set up the anatomy. These are the details, and then all these pretty boring stuff to the people who don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I would always just be in my room at night, just kind of like just putting things together, sometimes trashing some pieces of paper, and then just trying to get as much information from everywhere every single day. So when now time fast forward, when people, like, not to sound cocky or anything, but like when people say like, "Oh, that's good," and I'm just kind of like, "Thank you," but like, that's kind of what I expect. I've been putting in the
I
work.
know it's good.
I've been putting in the work. Like
Well,
yes,
and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go
no, no,
ahead.
yeah, but like, and that's what I want to keep pushing forward. Because I know there's other artists that are better than me, but I want to keep that going, that momentum going, where like I'm putting time in myself and I'm getting rewarded afterwards.
Those other artists are better recognized than you. You just haven't gotten on that level yet, but you're working on it.
Yeah,
I like what you want out of this. I think it's great to want to be recognized for what you've done because, like you said earlier, I don't just draw every day and get better. Better. It's like, no, you started out, you had talent, you knew this is something you were good at, that you enjoyed. You're an artist, you're creative, you're imaginative, and what you're doing is not getting better and better. You're honing that skill, you're honing that technique, you're learning, you're absorbing, you're making it better to where it's more defined as this is your work, this is what you are known for. And I sorry, I hit my screen a lot. And that's something that you want to be recognized as. So it's not that you're a bad artist, it's that you're unrecognized yet, and you're working on, like you said earlier, creating that style, that design that says, this is Marco Santiago, this is who I am. I think that's great, man. Hell yeah, keep
yeah,
it up.
definitely.
Keep defining who you are so that you're on that level. So it's not that they're better than you; they're just better recognized right now.
Yeah, I mean, I also like analyze other artists. Like, I'll definitely lurk,
Of
just
course.
people's things, and and I don't see it like in a hateful way either. Where I'm like, oh, why do they get so many followers and I only get like 2 likes or something? Like like basically nothing like that. I'll just look at it and I'll be like, oh, this is interesting. Sometimes some artists have like
Well, because you're
massive
learning from them.
followings. Yeah, some artists have massive followings, but their art is pretty like simple. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's just simple. Like, I'm all like, I could draw that like 30 times over and over, like run laps over that type of drawing style. But like, what are they doing that gets them that traffic? That people are always constantly looking at their stuff, buying their stuff. And that's what I'm trying to take away from these other artists. And like,
I
also,
mean, simplicity is a style too. Like some
yeah,
artwork that's simple. Like for me, for my show, I wanted a logo, and I have a new logo for the show, and I have a brilliant graphic designer that helped me and had a lot of patience and worked with me. Had 1,000 really great designs he presented to me and everything. And I said, you're gonna hate me for this. I was like, but I really want to keep it simple because my
yeah,
show is not about me. It's about my artists that come on. So I don't want really anything to super stand out, but I also want it to pop to get people's attention. And I came up with,
yeah.
well, he came up with and helped me create a beautiful, simple, perfect logo. So sometimes simple is an art style too.
Oh yeah,
So, and that's
definitely.
something that you're absorbing and seeing.
Yeah, and I'm also, some, people could get pretty personal on their social medias and whatnot, and or you could just look up information about them, and then just seeing like, um just people's upbringing till they got to a certain status. Even some of the classic comic book artists and whatnot. It's definitely like inspiring as well. Somebody like uh like Charles Schultz from Peanuts, like, is
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorites. Like, he just
And
said
that's
he
classic comic strip artwork.
yeah, yeah. One thing that interested me so much about that is that the guy didn't know how to draw. Like, he didn't know, he wanted to be like a cartoonist,
That
like some,
explains Charlie Brown's hair.
yeah, he wanted to be a cartoonist, like, illustrating stuff, like, I don't know, like just some of the classic stuff, and he could only draw like round little heads, just, and like that amazes me how like that blew up so much, like.
It's iconic now.
Yeah, and he
And it's
dedicated
simple.
himself. Yeah, and he
Yeah.
dedicated himself to just that, like drawing those little kids, and then just he made a whole career out of that. So that's something that like amazes me, where it's like there really is no linear way to take this.
Right.
You're just gonna be like left and right, and you just gotta find your way.
I couldn't agree more, man. Speaking of finding your way, what drives you? What motivates you to do this? Is it Charles Schultz?
I mean, those artists definitely are inspiring. But I mean, I like different things, and a lot of things have motivated me through my life. I mean,
What's the one that really pushes you, man?
I would have to say that it's like a, like, I guess something more dark and traumatic. But I caught myself in a little loop where I was just drinking a lot of alcohol, and then I remember like being a child and how like I used to draw a lot because I didn't want to live in the reality I was in at the moment. Because I had a very like troubled childhood, you know, just I guess
Yeah.
classic story, mom, abusive stepdad type of thing. And I would hear a lot of yelling all the time, just fighting, arguing, police coming in the door, just being like, hey, what's going on? So like I found like sanctuary in movies, like video games, art. So like even in the most simplest times where like I just wanted to zone out, I could have just like a lined piece of paper and pen, and I'll just doodle away. And then I feel like that made me dive deep into art. And it's not like I'm hanging on to that traumatic thing, like, oh, this is when I was a child. This is,
Yeah, I
because I'm
understand.
obviously a grown man now too. Like people got to keep looking forward. But I kind of came back to that once I caught myself in the little loop of just constantly drinking alcohol, and I told myself, man, like I just got to get out of this. I'm just turning into like something like that my stepfather was, or like just those people that I don't want to be like. Those people that just work and then get home and
Miserable.
then, yeah, miserable. They don't have any hobbies, anything that they want to do, anything else that like lets them express themselves further. So I mean, I also got into working out too, though. But that helped me, and then art, like I combined those together, and that just drives me a lot more further now. Just to like
Yeah.
you know just keep going forward, and hopefully in a few more years my art will look like completely different to what it looks now.
No, that's beautiful, man, and I appreciate you, sharing that with us. I can see how that would motivate someone, and to struggle with alcoholism. That's a real thing. It's tough for a lot of people. The older I get, the more I see a lot of my friends who that start to get out of control for them too, and now they're taking the sober path and they're finding that creativity within them
Yeah.
that was, it was locked away for so long. So I applaud you, man. That's a hard path to walk
Mhm.
away from, and
Thank you.
to find a positive outlet to be like, that's what I want to get back to, the core of who I was. So that's awesome, dude. That's a great motivation to have. And I appreciate you sharing that. Is there any advice that you would like to give to anyone out there that wants to be an illustrator? Any, little wisdoms of little nuggets of wisdom you would like to drop for them? Something that could help them as an illustrator?
Oh yeah, I would say. I mean, not even just in illustration, just in general. There's two main things I would say. Just work smart, work smart for sure.
I like
Like I
that.
said, don't just draw every single day expecting that one day you're gonna get good. You know, like I've had reference images, and I'll try to mimic this as much as I can, and then look at the tools they use, or like the medium, like just really analyze an image before I even try to replicate it. Look at art instruction videos, just if there's any like online courses you could pay for, do that as well. Just anything that you're definitely putting your mind into it, and that'll actually save you a lot more time than just constantly drawing every single day. But at the same time, the second point is consistency is key. Just I mean, this one I learned from the gym. You know, you could be working out in the worst way possible, but as long as you're doing it every single, maybe not every single day, but at least 3 or 4 times a week, you're
Yeah.
gonna have some type of progression. And you can't say you didn't progress because you're gonna see it because you've been doing it consistently.
No, I
And
love that's excellent advice. Work smart, man. I like that. Work smart, and through working that way, you will see the progress. You can't expect immediate results. Day
yeah,
one. It's like no, you got to be smart. You got to put in the time, the effort, the research. Like you said, that I think going to the gym is a great analogy. I'm terrible at that,
yeah,
but it does make sense. Like you put in the time, you put in the effort, you're gonna see the results. Work smart. That's great. That's great advice, man. Um, I really appreciate you coming on today. Thank you for taking time out to just talk to us here, take us through, the stuff that you do, the stuff that you've illustrated. Please promote yourself. Where can we find you again? How can we follow you? What other outlets do you have for us to check out your work, to check you out if we want to just be like, hey, I want to see your artwork?
yeah. For the most part, it's Facebook and Instagram, my social medias where I have my art. It's Marcos Illustrates, and then my big cartel is marcosillustrates.bigcartel.com. And for the most part, that's just basically it.
Okay.
Where people could see my work, see my merchandise, and I'm definitely working on amplifying the quality of my merchandise. That's definitely, I feel like something. I guess because I worked in printmaking,
Yeah.
that kind of like gave me that boost where I have to push to get a better quality product
Yeah.
because
You're your own boss now. Got to step it up.
yeah, and like especially because I go to events where yeah, where everybody's artsy in some way in those events. They're making beads, necklaces, T-shirts, whatever. And then some people expect for you to pay like a good buck for a product that isn't well made, like at all. And then they'll say like shop local. I'm like, oh, I'll shop local if the items are good, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not
I'll
gonna pay.
support local if I see something I like to support.
Yeah, like I'm not about to pay no $30 for like a
Well, that's why I like what you said, amplifying your quality. I think that's awesome. And
yeah.
keep it up, man. You've got a friend here on IPA. We're going to be following you, keeping up to date with everything. I hope others out there listening are doing the same. And once again, man, I just really appreciate you coming on. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Is there anything else you would like to add before we end this? Anything you'd like to say?
Well, I really hope people stick around for my independent comic books that I
Yeah.
plan on making. That's something I guess I haven't actually even told anybody. I only told like one person or two, but I've definitely been kind of more behind the scenes of this because I know comic book making definitely is more time consuming.
It is.
Um, and I'm definitely gonna make these stories based off of like personal experiences. And I don't know if you noticed that my artwork is more like fantasy based.
Yeah, that's
And
stuff
like,
I like. Yeah.
yeah, so like
You're
like
challenging yourself.
no, it's not even like challenge. It's more like just like completely expressing myself
Ah, nice.
or
Okay.
like to the fullest. And I want people to know that that stuff is like more personal to me. Like actually, like me. Like if you read some of this stuff, look at some of the art, then you understand that that's definitely like a part of me that you're gonna hopefully understand. And I definitely want to like dive into the fantasy part, but I also want to like do one completely different that's more based like a city life. You like, and that one would be based off my experiences in my teens,
Yeah.
which is pretty crazy times as well. So especially in LA, like growing up around gangs and like all these type of cliques of different subcultures, and just so I hope people like that type of stuff as well. And that's definitely something like that I'm gonna be having fun with because I'm gonna base some of these characters off of people that I actually knew or met or I encountered in life that hopefully some people will look at these characters and be like, oh, I know somebody like that, or that kind of reminds me of me.
Relatable. Yeah. I
Yeah,
dig that. Dude, that's
yeah,
awesome. That's exciting. I can't wait to see what you do with this comic book. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Like I said, we'll be following you more, keeping up to date, seeing all the new stuff you put out. To everyone out there listening, I think you should have definitely walked away with some inspiration today. Marco said it right. Sometimes you just got to pull from that deep core within yourself, put a little bit of yourself into your work, find your identity and your style, and work smart. Keep honing the skills you have. If this is something you love doing, you're going to do it. You'll make the time. You're going to be your own boss. So thank you, man. Again, I appreciate it. And to all the listeners out there, until the next time, stay golden. Thanks for tuning in. And if you like what you heard, please rate and review, like and subscribe. Every little bit helps. And as always, the theme music of the show is provided by the Ericka page. And our brand new graphic designs are all thanks to Quality Artworks. Links are in the show notes. Go support these amazing indie artists just like they support IPA Sessions. And of course, please follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. That's at IPA Sessions Podcast. And if you or someone you know is an independent artist looking to promote their work or just share their story with us, please hit me up at ipasessionspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again, everyone, and I hope you're able to find some inspirations for practical applications and entertainment.